So I don't know if the Congresswoman is still here, but is she still here?
No, she just went.
Okay, so let me just say that
She's coming back.
I want to just reflect on something that she just was talking about. You can move to Rome, you'll never be an Italian. You can move to Paris, you'll never be a Frenchman. You could move to Moscow, you'll never be a Russian. But you can move to the United States of America and you're an American. As soon as you adopt the idea that we aspire to, because America is not a place, or it's not just a place, it's an idea that all men and women are created equal. And as the Congresswoman was talking about, we've had a challenge living up to that all these years of our history. So many groups have been discriminated against. When the first people here were really the Dutch, and then the English came, the Dutch discriminated against the English. And then the Dutch and the English discriminated against the Germans. And then the Dutch and the English and the Germans discriminated against the Irish. And then the Dutch and the English and the German and the Irish discriminated against the Italians and the Jews. And then all of those groups discriminated against the next one and the next one, and the African Americans that have had it terrible since the beginning. So we have always tried to become a more perfect union. That's what's in the Constitution, to become a more perfect union. And we need you, my Pakistani American friends, who are some of the most educated, some of the most successful economically in the community of any group in the country. We need you to help make our country a better place. It's something we need to strive at all the time. And it's not up to somebody else. Remember something, 60% of Americans do not graduate from college. In the 2016 census, there are 105 million full-time jobs. And of those 105 million full-time jobs, 89 million out of 105 million, 89 million made less than $75,000 a year. You're the best and the brightest, educated, successful, but you need to take that success and make our country better. It's up to you as much as anybody else. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to come here tonight is I just won my re-election. And in my re-election, in my congressional district, Donald Trump won by 19,000 votes. So for me to win, not only the people who voted for the Democrats had to vote for me, but 20,000 people voted for Trump and Suozzi. So I know I have a lot of Pakistani American friends in this room that stood by me, both Democrats and Republicans that stood by me, and I won't forget that. Because as my grandmother said, you all know that my father was born in Italy, right? Who knew that already? Raise your hand if you knew that already. My father was born, when I was listening to the Congresswoman, I see my family story in your family story. My father was the first one in his neighborhood to go to college. He fought in World War II as a navigator on a B-24 and got the Distinguished Flying Cross. Then he came back home and he went to Harvard Law School on the GI Bill in the 1940s. He couldn't get a job at a law firm because they wouldn't hire an Italian, because the Italians had teamed up with the Germans during World War II, so they didn't want anything to do with between World War II and the mafia, they didn't want anything to do with the Italians. So he started a law firm with another Italian guy, and he ended up running for city court judge, and at 28 years old became the youngest judge in the history of New York State. What a country. So my family story is the same as your family story. And we need to recognize that there's an opportunity to make things better for everybody, but we have to all keep on pushing and fighting together. And as my grandmother used to say, as I was just going to say, you like a me, I like a you. So you've all helped me so much. And I, as Dr. Ajaz just said, I am the chairman, the Democratic chairman, there's a Republican also, the chairman of the Pakistani caucus in the United States Congress. And I traveled to Pakistan once before after the floods, but I will be going again in the next few months to visit Pakistan, to work in building our relationship with Pakistan. And I say the same thing. I don't care about your politics, either here or in Pakistan, because I know a lot of you have Pakistani politics too. I'm not picking sides. Let me say very clearly, and I say this to both sides. I say this to the government, I say this to the opposition, anybody I talk to, I say the same thing. Pakistanis are always asking for more investment from the U.S. And I said, listen, it's not about the government investing. If you want to get Pakistan to move forward, you have to make it so that Americans and people in the Western world, including Pakistani Americans who are so successful, if they want to invest in your country, they're only going to do it if they believe that if they get in a dispute, they're not going to have to know somebody in the ISI or in the military to move ahead. They're going to have to. You need transparency. You need transparency and the rule of law. And one of the things that I'm encouraging is that the Pakistani government set up something that I saw in Kazakhstan, which is an independent arbitration board, so that if people enter into a contract, both sides can sign on to it, and if there's a dispute, you can go to this independent arbitration board and get help of either American or English or Pakistani lawyers to help you to settle your dispute. Because until people feel that if they get in a dispute, they're going to be able to get their money back or make money, they're not going to invest. So that we have to encourage that. So I want to build the U.S.-Pakistani relationship. But to do that, they've got to move forward, and we've got to move forward together with them to try and move ahead. But I'm going to be honest when I speak to them and talk about this need to encourage the rule of law and to encourage transparency. I see the success in our diaspora here on Long Island and in New York and throughout the country. And there could be so much more success in Pakistan with its hundreds of millions of people, with its amazing natural resources, with all of its young people, so many young people under the age of 25 years old. There's so much potential for Pakistan, but they have to figure out how are they going to make it so that people can trust the system when they invest in their dollars. Okay.